Welcome to InfoStream, your daily current. Unsure what to listen to? Turn to us for today's headlines. Stay informed. EU secures funding for Ukraine. The EU finalized a last-minute funding agreement for Ukraine. US releases Epstein files. The Justice Department is releasing Epstein documents. A lengthy process. Violence escalates in Bangladesh and India. Tensions rise due to violence and deportations in the region. U.S. military actions draw controversy. Military operations in Venezuela and the Caribbean are under scrutiny. Border conflict intensifies. The border situation is worsening with significant human cost. Gaza food crisis sees limited improvements. The food situation in Gaza is improving despite ongoing challenges. Brown University shooter identified and deceased. The shooter at Brown University has been identified and died. Trump administration targets transgender care. The administration is focusing on restrictions for transgender minor health care. Bondi Beach shooting prompts gun buyback. Australia initiates a gun buyback program following the Bondi Beach shooting. UK inflation and interest rates remain a concern. The UK is grappling with inflation and interest rate dynamics. Data breach exposes security vulnerabilities. A government data breach revealed significant security weaknesses. Tourism sector adapts to economic shifts. The tourism industry is adjusting to fluctuating market conditions. Jim Hunt's legacy includes educational reforms. Jim Hunt's impact is marked by educational reforms. Wisconsin judge convicted of obstruction. A Wisconsin judge was found guilty of obstruction in an immigration case. EU secures last-minute funding deal for Ukraine. European leaders successfully brokered a critical $105 billion loan agreement to bolster Ukraine's economy and military capabilities, averting a potential collapse in support amidst escalating conflict and geopolitical maneuvering. The deal, reached late Friday in Brussels, represents a significant victory for European unity and underscores the ongoing struggle to provide sustained assistance to Ukraine. The agreement followed intense negotiations, complicated by divergent priorities and concerns among member states. Notably, a contentious proposal to utilize frozen Russian central bank assets had faced resistance, primarily from nations wary of potential legal repercussions and the risk of escalating tensions with Moscow. Belgium, holding the majority of the immobilized assets, was a key negotiator, securing guarantees against future liabilities. Several external factors contributed to the urgency of the situation. A recent national security strategy from the United States, criticizing Europe's perceived lack of confidence, alongside persistent attempts by President Vladimir Putin to undermine European resolve, heightened the pressure. Zelensky emphasized the vital importance of the funding, particularly for maintaining Ukraine's drone industry, a crucial element in defending frontline troops and continuing long-range attacks against Russian infrastructure. The deal's success hinged on a commitment from member states to shoulder the financial burden, mitigating concerns about potential legal challenges. Despite these hurdles, the agreement provides a crucial lifeline for Ukraine, bolstering its defense capabilities and signaling continued European solidarity. The negotiation process highlighted the complex interplay of domestic political considerations and international security dynamics, solidifying Europe's role as a central pillar of support for Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. U.S. Justice Department to release Epstein files, a complex and delayed process. The U.S. Justice Department is preparing to release thousands of files related to Jeffrey Epstein's investigations, a process fraught with delays, redactions, and concerns regarding survivor support. A top official, Todd Blanchie, announced the initial release of several 100,000 pages, followed by more in the coming weeks, fulfilling a mandate from a recently passed law. The release is occurring as Democrats on the House Oversight Committee continue to release a selection of photographs obtained from Epstein's estate. Though these are only a small portion of the overall 95,000 images held, the Democrats' releases include a diverse range of materials, such as inmate request forms, high-profile figures associated with Epstein, and plans for his private Caribbean islands, alongside images featuring quotes from Lolita and passports belonging to women from various countries. However, the release lacks context and has been criticized for selectively releasing information. Republicans have accused Democrats of cherry-picking images. Significant challenges remain in the redaction process. The Justice Department's National Security Division, rather than the FBI, is handling the redactions, a decision that has raised questions about expertise. The volume of documents, estimated to be over 1,000 pages per attorney combined, with the need to redact sensitive personal information, is creating a massive workload. The department has already faced issues with redactions in a previous document release, leading to the inadvertent disclosure of Social Security numbers. Survivors of Epstein's abuse have expressed frustration and concern about the lack of communication, and transparency surrounding the file release. Many have reported receiving no outreach from the DOJ prior to the releases. The Oversight Committee's releases are occurring on the eve of the Justice Department's expected full release, which is anticipated to be delayed due to the extensive redaction requirements. Despite the legal mandate, the process is proving to be significantly more complex and protracted than initially anticipated, raising concerns about the timeline for full transparency and the potential for continued trauma for Epstein's victims. The Justice Department's handling of the redaction process, coupled with the survivors' concerns, highlights the difficulties in balancing legal obligations with the needs of those impacted by Epstein's crimes. Violence and deportations fuel tensions in Bangladesh and India. Recent events in Bangladesh and India are marked by escalating violence, targeted deportations, and growing tensions stemming from complex geopolitical and social dynamics. The core issue revolves around the death of Sharif Osman Hadi, a youth protest leader who became a focal point for unrest. Following his death, protests erupted, leading to the violent attacks on prominent Bangladeshi newspapers, the Daily Star and Prathamalo. These attacks, fueled by dissatisfaction with the current interim government and its policies, were accompanied by widespread vandalism and the setting of one building ablaze. The government condemned the violence and vowed to prosecute those responsible. Simultaneously, India has been grappling with a series of deportations of suspected Bangladeshi immigrants, primarily Bengali-speaking Muslim individuals. Hundreds, including Sonali Khatun and her family, have been forcibly returned to Bangladesh, often without proper verification of their claims or due process. Khatun's case, in particular, garnered international attention due to the lack of communication from Indian authorities and the family's prolonged detention and separation. The deportations have been criticized by the West Bengal government and human rights organizations. The situation is further complicated by the newspaper's critical stance against the interim government, perceived as pro-Awami League in India, contributing to the escalation of tensions. The Indian government's crackdown on suspected Bangladeshi immigrants has been criticized for targeting individuals based on their ethnicity and language, raising concerns about potential human rights abuses. The Supreme Court intervened, urging the federal government to allow Khatun and her son to return on humanitarian grounds. The ongoing events underscore the interconnectedness of the two nations and the challenges associated with managing migration flows and political sensitivities along their shared border. The BBC reports that over funds 200 people have been illegally pushed into Bangladesh in May alone. U.S. military actions in Venezuela and Caribbean shifting justifications and growing controversy. Recent news reports detail a complex and increasingly controversial series of U.S. military actions in the Caribbean and Venezuela, marked by shifting justifications and a lack of consistent messaging. At the core of the situation is the U.S. Navy's targeted strikes against vessels suspected of involvement in drug trafficking, prompting significant debate regarding legality, strategy, and potential escalation. Initially, the administration framed the operations as solely focused on combating drug smuggling, citing the threat to American citizens and the need to disrupt transnational criminal networks. However, as events unfolded, evidence emerged suggesting broader motivations, including reclaiming U.S.-owned oil assets seized decades earlier by the Venezuelan government. President Trump repeatedly voiced demands to regain control of these resources, further fueling tensions. The administration's explanations for the strikes have undergone a dramatic evolution. Following the initial claims about drug enforcement, reports surfaced that the targets were linked to a wider range of illicit activities, including the transport of criminals and mental health patients from Venezuela. Subsequently, the administration began openly acknowledging a desire to remove Nicolás Maduro from power, a position previously denied. Adding to the complexity is the administration's struggle to maintain a consistent narrative. Initial statements regarding the target's destinations, initially the Caribbean and then Suriname, were contradicted by subsequent revelations. The administration's justifications have been further complicated by shifting opinions among officials, with some downplaying regime change ambitions, while others openly advocated for it. Public opinion polls reveal widespread disapproval of the military actions, highlighting the administration's struggle to garner support. The ambiguity surrounding the objectives, coupled with the lack of transparency, has fueled criticism and raised concerns about potential violations of international law. The ongoing situation underscores the challenges of navigating complex geopolitical landscapes and the potential consequences of pursuing multifaceted strategies without clear communication and a consistent strategic vision. The administration's actions have triggered significant debate about the legality, effectiveness, and broader implications of U.S. military intervention in the region. The border conflict escalation and human cost. The ongoing conflict between Thailand and Cambodia is marked by escalating violence, significant casualties, and disputed territory, primarily centered around Hill 350. The fighting, now in its second phase, has resulted in numerous Thai soldiers killed, with 21 confirmed as of Thursday, including the recent deaths of Pivit Phenufat Sosa and Setimaj First Class Samron Klangprakan, whose bodies are proving difficult to retrieve due to intense fighting. The Thai military's objective is to secure Hill 350, a strategically vital hill offering a commanding view and control over surrounding areas, and to prevent Cambodian forces from posing a threat. The conflict's origins lie in a 120-year-old territorial dispute, exacerbated by Cambodia's use of inaccurate weaponry, particularly BM-21 rockets, which have caused civilian casualties and damage. Thailand has responded with airstrikes, including targeting a Cambodian arms depot and logistics center near Poipet, while simultaneously asserting its right to defend its sovereignty. The Thai military's actions have been criticized internationally, particularly regarding potential violations of international law. Hill 350 itself is a focal point, a contested hill near the Prasat Ta Kwai ruins, with Thai troops successfully retaking the ruins and raising the Thai flag. Despite heavy fortifications established by Cambodian forces, including concrete bunkers, the Thai military is determined to maintain control. The human cost is substantial, with families of fallen soldiers demanding swift retrieval of remains for funeral rites. The conflict has disrupted cross-border trade and displaced civilians on both sides of the border. Thailand's Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul has emphasized the strategic importance of securing Hill 350, while acknowledging the need for a ceasefire. China has offered to mediate, but Thailand has resisted, insisting on Cambodia's immediate cessation of hostile actions. The situation remains volatile, with ongoing clashes and a lack of progress toward a negotiated resolution. The conflict highlights deep-seated tensions and underscores the challenges of resolving long-standing territorial disputes. Gaza food situation improvements amidst persistent crisis. A recent report from UN-backed experts indicates a gradual improvement in food supplies and nutrition within the Gaza Strip following the October ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. However, the situation remains critically precarious, with approximately 100,000 individuals continuing to endure catastrophic conditions as of last month. The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification (IPC), a global monitoring system for hunger crisis, initially assessed that 500,000 Gazans, roughly a quarter of the population, were experiencing severe food insecurity bordering on famine. Despite the ceasefire, the IPC's latest analysis reveals that a month ago, 500,000 Gazans were still classified as facing emergency conditions, highlighting the significant challenges in providing adequate sustenance. The highest level of food insecurity, designated as IPC Phase 5, characterized by catastrophic conditions, persisted for over 100,000 households. Importantly, the report confirms that no areas within Gaza are currently classified as experiencing famine. Israel's foreign ministry strongly disputes the initial findings of famine, asserting that the IPC report is deliberately distorted and doesn't accurately represent the reality of the situation in Gaza. Koget, the Israeli military body overseeing Gaza's crossings, argues that the number of aid trucks entering the territory weekly exceeds the UN's estimations. Kogat claims the IPC's analysis relies on incomplete data and unreliable sources. The IPC, in response, states that its analysis utilizes publicly available data from both UN sources and Kogat's own reports. The continued disagreement underscores the complexities and challenges in accurately assessing and responding to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, with both sides presenting divergent interpretations of the available evidence. The situation remains highly fragile, demanding sustained international attention and coordinated efforts to address the urgent needs of the population. Norway's Crown Princess Mette-Marit faces potential lung transplant. Norway's Crown Princess Mette-Marit is likely to require a lung transplant due to a worsening of her pulmonary fibrosis diagnosis, according to a statement released by the royal household. Diagnosed with the degenerative disease in 2018, the condition causes scarring and stiffening of the lungs, hindering oxygen intake. Recent autumn tests revealed a significant deterioration in her health, prompting the necessary preparations for a potential transplant. Dr. R. Martin Holm, head of respiratory medicine at Oslo University Hospital, indicated that the condition has progressed faster than anticipated. Despite not yet being formally placed on the transplant waiting list, the medical team has initiated the evaluation process. Approximately 20 to 40 patients typically await lung transplants in Norway, and Princess Mette-Marit will not receive preferential treatment. The palace confirmed that the healthcare team is undertaking preparations to ensure the transplant's feasibility. She requires increasing rest and a tailored exercise regimen, though she has expressed a desire to continue her royal duties, which will be adjusted to accommodate her health. Crown Prince Haakon, Mette-Marit's husband and the future king, has observed her struggles with breathing and reduced energy levels, particularly during activities like hiking and skiing. He noted that she often appears healthy at rest, but experiences difficulties with exertion. The prospect of a transplant is considered demanding, recognizing the inherent risks involved. A successful transplant depends on finding a suitable donor match and preventing organ rejection. Pulmonary fibrosis is described as a dangerous disease that can be difficult to detect, as individuals may appear normal at rest but struggle with physical activity. The transplant represents a last resort, typically reserved for severely ill patients with limited life expectancies. The medical team is proceeding cautiously, prioritizing her well-being and the potential success of the procedure. Ongoing adjustments to her royal engagements will be implemented to support her health while she navigates this challenging medical situation. Brown University shooter identified and found dead. The investigation into the Brown University shooting, which resulted in 1 fatality and multiple injuries, has reached a decisive conclusion. Authorities have identified the shooter as 48-year-old Claudio Nives Valenti, a former Brown University student and Portuguese national. Valenta was found dead in a storage unit in Salem, New Hampshire, after taking his own life. The discovery marks the end of a 6-day manhunt. Initial leads stemmed from a Reddit post detailing a man matching Valenti's description near the shooting scene. This information, combined with surveillance footage and a rental car investigation, proved crucial in tracking the suspect's movements. Investigators utilized a license plate reader to flag a vehicle matching the one Valenta was believed to be driving, ultimately leading them to the storage unit. The investigation revealed a connection between Valente and the MIT professor Nuno Loureiro, who was fatally shot at his home in Brookline, Massachusetts, 2 days after the Brown shooting. Both men attended the same academic program in Lisbon, Portugal between 1995 and 2000. Valenti's actions were further complicated by his use of untraceable communication methods, including European SIM cards, hindering efforts to monitor his location. The discovery of Valenti's body, along with 2 firearms and a satchel, occurred after authorities obtained a warrant and executed a search of the storage unit. The decision to withhold Valenti's identity from the public is a strategic one, aiming to prevent him from fleeing or becoming a threat while investigators continue to piece together the motive behind the attacks. The investigation is ongoing, focusing on understanding the reasons behind Valenti's actions and the potential links between the Brown shooting and the MIT murder. The community has responded with an outpouring of support, particularly through a significant surge in blood donations following the tragedy. Trump administration targets transgender care for minors. Recent developments reveal a concerted effort by the Trump administration to severely restrict healthcare access for transgender minors, encompassing multiple regulatory and legislative actions. The core strategy involves blocking hospitals and doctors from receiving Medicare and Medicaid funding if they provide treatments like puberty blockers and surgeries for transgender youth. Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. spearheaded this initiative, framing such procedures as malpractice and citing a lack of professional standards. This move directly challenges established medical practices and threatens the well-being of transgender youth seeking medically necessary care. The administration's actions extend beyond regulatory hurdles. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA Commissioner Dr. Mette-Marit, issued warning letters to companies marketing breast binders, devices used by transgender youth. Simultaneously, the National Institutes of Health and ICE Director, Dr. J. Bhattacharya, announced the termination of research funding into gender transition, dismissing the field as junk science. These actions signal a broader ideological shift, prioritizing a skeptical perspective on transgender healthcare. Legal challenges are anticipated, with the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, preparing to contest the regulations in court. The administration's proposed legislation, championed by Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, seeks to criminalize healthcare providers offering transgender care to minors, potentially resulting in up to 10 years imprisonment. Despite these aggressive measures, major medical associations, including the American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, the Endocrine Society, the American Psychological Association, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, continue to support gender-affirming care, deeming it the gold standard of clinically appropriate treatment. These organizations emphasize the importance of psychosocial assessment and developmentally appropriate counseling, recognizing the profound impact of these interventions on the lives of transgender youth. The conflicting stances highlight a significant battle over healthcare access and the rights of marginalized communities. The future of transgender healthcare in the United States remains uncertain, pending legal outcomes and ongoing advocacy efforts. Bondi Beach shooting: Australia launches gun buyback and commemorates victims. Following the devastating anti-Semitic attack at Bondi Beach, Australia has initiated a nationwide gun buyback scheme and organized a day of remembrance for the victims. The attack, inspired by ISIS, resulted in the deaths of 10 individuals, including British national Boris Chetleyrod and Australian couple Boris and Sophia Gurman, who bravely confronted one of the shooters. Investigations are ongoing to determine the full motivation and methods employed by the perpetrators. The government, led by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, is implementing the largest gun buyback since 1996, aiming to remove hundreds of thousands of firearms from circulation. States and territories will oversee the collection and destruction of surrendered weapons, while federal police will manage the process. This action follows a significant increase in the number of firearms held in the country, exceeding those present after the 1996 Port Arthur massacre. A day of reflection is scheduled for December 21st, during which flags will be flown at half-staff, and a national day of mourning will be observed. This period will be marked by tributes to the victims and a community-wide response to the trauma. Witnesses, including lifeguards Jimmy and Rupert, who assisted in the rescue efforts, shared their harrowing experiences and the community's journey toward healing. Hundreds of surfers participated in a paddle out at Bondi Beach, demonstrating solidarity with the victims and a commitment to combating fear and hatred. Funeral services were held for the Gurman couple, described as longtime Bondi locals who celebrated their 35th wedding anniversary. Boris Chetleyrod, a beloved husband and father, also had a funeral service. Sophia Brutman, a committed advocate for fighting discrimination, was also remembered. Intelligence agencies have identified a regular online video feed from ISIS as a key influence on the attack. Ongoing investigations are focused on understanding the full scope of the perpetrators' motives and the extent of their connections to extremist groups. The government is committed to providing support to the community and implementing measures to prevent future acts of violence. The gun buyback scheme represents a significant step in addressing gun control concerns and fostering a safer environment for Australians. UK inflation and interest rate dynamics: the UK's inflation rate, currently at 3.2% for the year to November, remains above the Bank of England's 2% target, despite a decrease from 3.6% in October. The Bank of England is employing interest rate adjustments to combat inflation, having recently implemented 5 cuts, bringing rates down to 4%. Further rate adjustments are anticipated, though the pace remains uncertain, with the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, voting 5-4 to hold rates at 4% in November. Concerns remain regarding the potential impact of U.S. tariffs and global economic uncertainties on future decisions. Alongside inflation, the UK's interest rate landscape is influenced by a shift towards greater flexibility in contactless payment limits. The current 100 limit is being reconsidered, allowing banks and payment firms to set individual customer limits or offer unlimited spending options. While the FCA encourages this flexibility to improve transaction speed, it also stresses the importance of maintaining robust fraud controls. Several countries, including Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, already operate with industry-set contactless limits. The reduction in interest rates is intended to stimulate economic activity, but also raises concerns about potential increases in consumer spending and debt. Financial abuse charities express worry about the increased risk of abusers gaining unrestricted access to funds through contactless payments. Shared banking hubs are being developed to provide vulnerable customers with access to cash, addressing concerns about a shift towards a cashless society. Regular pay growth in Great Britain has exceeded inflation, with annual average regular earnings growing by 7.6% and 3.9% in the public and private sectors, respectively. However, the unemployment rate has risen to 5.1% in the 3 months to October, the highest level since January 2021. The Bank of England continues to monitor these economic indicators as it navigates the complexities of managing inflation and supporting economic growth. The UK's monetary policy remains subject to ongoing adjustments based on evolving economic data and global developments. Government data breach reveals security vulnerabilities. A recent cyber attack targeting government data has prompted investigations by UK officials, with the Home Office's systems, operated on its behalf by the Foreign Office, compromised. The incident, potentially occurring in October, involved the theft of data, possibly including visa details. While officials believe the risk to individuals is low, investigations are ongoing, spearheaded by intelligence agencies like GCHQ, which has been dedicating significant resources to counter threats from China. The attack is suspected to have been carried out by a Chinese-affiliated group. The breach highlights vulnerabilities in government IT systems, with experts noting the use of old IT and a need for improved digital defenses. The Labour government, despite acknowledging China's significant influence on global issues, recognizes the security implications of such attacks, particularly ahead of a planned visit by Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer to Beijing. China has consistently denied involvement in cyber attacks against the UK. The incident underscores the complexities of navigating the UK's relationship with China, a nation viewed as a defining force in technology, trade, and global governance. Sir Keir Starmer emphasized the importance of a carefully constructed relationship to bolster the UK's international standing and safeguard national interests, while also acknowledging China's potential security threats. The Information Commissioner's Office has been notified of the breach. GCHQ's increased focus on countering Chinese espionage reflects a growing concern about large-scale cyber threats targeting government and commercial information. The vulnerability highlights the ongoing need for robust cybersecurity measures within government departments. The situation necessitates a strategic approach to international relations alongside continuous investment in digital security infrastructure to mitigate future risks. Tourism sector strategies amidst fluctuations. The Thai tourism industry is navigating a complex landscape marked by shifts in international travel patterns and specific localized challenges. The government, through various agencies, is implementing strategies to bolster tourism revenue and restore confidence among key source markets, particularly China. The Ministry of Tourism and Sports reports a significant decline in Chinese tourist arrivals, falling to 4.1 million between January and November 2025, representing a 33.8% decrease compared to 2024. This downturn is attributed to several factors, including the kidnapping of Chinese actor Wang Jing and natural disasters experienced in the latter half of the year. To address these issues and stimulate recovery, the Tourism Authority of Thailand (TAT) is pursuing a multi-pronged approach. A primary goal is to restore Chinese tourist arrivals to 6.7 million by 2026, a figure previously achieved in 2024. This ambition is being realized through strategic partnerships and the resumption of chartered flights. The TAT is actively engaging in collaborations, including letters of intent, LOIs, with the Haikou Municipal Bureau of Tourism, Culture, Radio, Television, and Sports, and Tongcheng Travel, a leading Chinese online travel agency. These partnerships aim to promote two-way tourism, develop joint tourism products, facilitate exchanges of opinion leaders, and establish new tourism routes, notably between Haikou and Phuket Chiang Mai. Furthermore, the TAT is launching the Zhongtai Jiaqin, or China and Thailand, our One Family campaign, scheduled for 2026, to strengthen marketing and promotional activities, incorporating cultural and festival events. The agency is also exploring direct flights from Haikou to Thailand, offering a convenient 2-hour travel time for tourists. The government recognizes the importance of attracting high-spending Chinese tourists and is focused on demonstrating value for money. The TAT's initiatives reflect a proactive response to market challenges and a commitment to regaining its position as a premier destination for Chinese travelers. The focus on strategic partnerships and targeted marketing efforts represents a key element in the ongoing tourism recovery strategy. Jim Hunt, a legacy of educational reform, a James Baxter Hunt Jr., a towering figure in North Carolina politics and a champion of public education reform, died at the age of 88. Governor Hunt's 16-year tenure, marked by a focus on improving public schools and preparing North Carolina for a changing economy, left an indelible mark on the state. His influence extended nationally, shaping education policy and inspiring future leaders. Hunt's career began with service as president of the state's Young Democrats and as lieutenant governor, where he collaborated with Republican Governor Jim Holshouser to establish full-day kindergarten in North Carolina, a pioneering move. As governor, he spearheaded the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards and championed standardized testing to facilitate state comparisons. The Smart Start Early Childhood Initiative, a nationally recognized model, was another key component of his strategy. Following a significant political loss to Senator Jesse Helms in 1984, Hunt returned to governor in the early 1990s, successfully navigating a rising Republican tide. He skillfully adapted to shifting political winds, calling a special legislative session to address crime, and proposing larger tax cuts than initially offered by Republican lawmakers. His ability to persuade and mobilize constituents, often through late-night phone calls and constituent pressure, was legendary. Hunt's legacy is particularly notable for his advocacy regarding the Wilmington 10, a controversial commutation of sentences for individuals convicted in the 1971 firebombing of a grocery store, a decision that was ultimately revisited and fully reversed in 2012. His commitment to education and his impact on North Carolina's trajectory are widely recognized. Current Governor Josh Stein and former Governor Roy Cooper both lauded Hunt as the greatest governor in North Carolina history. Former Georgia Governor Roy Barnes emphasized Hunt's central role in reshaping education nationally. Republican U.S. Senator Tom Tillis acknowledged Hunt as one of the most consequential public servants in North Carolina's history. Rachel Hunt, his daughter, currently serves as lieutenant governor, continuing her father's legacy. Notably, she took the gavel as Senate President in 2025, following in his footsteps 52 years later, solidifying his enduring influence on North Carolina politics. His dedication to public education and his strategic approach to leadership remain a cornerstone of the state's development. Wisconsin judge guilty of obstruction in immigration case. A jury delivered a guilty verdict against Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan on Thursday, finding her guilty of obstruction charges related to an incident involving an undocumented immigrant, Eduardo Flores Ruiz. The conviction represents a significant victory for the Trump administration's ongoing immigration enforcement efforts. Dugan was charged with obstruction, a felony, and concealing an individual to prevent arrest, a misdemeanor, stemming from an event that occurred on April 18. While she was acquitted of the concealment charge, the obstruction conviction carries a potential sentence of up to 5 years in prison. The case centers around Dugan's actions while immigration agents were present in her courtroom, awaiting Flores Ruiz's appearance regarding a state battery case. According to court documents, Dugan confronted the agents, falsely claiming their administrative warrant was insufficient, and directed them to the chief judge's office. Following this, she privately advised Flores Ruiz and his attorney to attend the next hearing via Zoom, and escorted them out a private jury door, facilitating their escape. Agents subsequently apprehended Flores Ruiz after a foot chase. He has since been deported by the Department of Homeland Security. The incident ignited considerable political tension, with the administration labeling Dugan an activist judge and Democrats criticizing the administration's attempt to intimidate the judiciary. Prosecutors successfully presented evidence demonstrating Dugan's deliberate actions to create an opportunity for Flores Ruiz's escape. Audio recordings revealed Dugan's intention to take the heat for leading the immigrant out of the courtroom. Dugan's defense argued she was simply following established courthouse protocols regarding reporting immigration agents to supervisors. The trial highlighted the complexities and potential conflicts within the immigration system, as well as the political ramifications surrounding judicial decisions in this area. The case remains a contentious issue, underscoring the ongoing challenges posed by the administration's immigration policies.